Hello everybody. We're still talking about the solution of nonlinear algebraic equations. Last time we saw how we can use fsolve and f0 to solve one equation in one unknown for a nonlinear algebraic equation. So now we will see how to solve a set of equations like these two, 2, 3, 4, whatever the number of equations. If you have 4 equations and 4 unknowns, we will do the same thing. So to see how to do this, we will do the solution on these 2 equations. It's going to be almost the same steps we did before with some changes because of the changes in the number of equations. So we have here 2 equations, 2x minus y equals e power minus x, and minus x plus 2y equals e power minus y. So the first thing we need to keep in mind is that we will use the fsolve to get the equation equals to 0. So we have to get this on the other side. So it's going to be 2x minus y minus exponential of minus x. And this is going to be minus x plus 2y minus exponential of minus y. So this is the first thing. The second thing is that we need to know how to put these 2 equations in the fsolve. So what we will do is to write fsolve. And we had here 2 inputs. The first was the equations and here the initial values. And in this equation, we were told that the initial values were -5 and -5 both for x and y. So the first thing is to put the equation. So the way we write the equations is kind of important to be written in the right way. So the software or Matlab will understand these 2 variables as 2 variables in one matrix. So it's gonna be matrix called x or y, whatever name, but it has to be the same for both. And this is x1 and this is x2. So these 2 equations will be written in this way. So we have the equations written. First we will oops, I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong with it. Yeah, so here it is. First we put everything on the left hand side so that the equation equals to 0, and then we have 2x1, which is 2x, and then minus x2, which is y, and then minus e power minus x1, which was e minus x. So this is the way the software will understand the input that we have. So this is the way we are going to write the equation. So I'm going to keep it here so we can see both. And this in this equation we write the two equations, and the 2 equations are gonna be in the same matrix. So it's gonna be a matrix that includes 2 equations. The first is 2x1 multiplied by x1, of course, minus x2 minus exponential of minus x1. So this is the first equation. To go to the second equation, you can either make it 2 rows or 2 columns. It's up to you. It's gonna solve in both ways. So it's gonna to be minus x1 plus 2 multiplied by x2. Oops. x2 minus exponential of minus x2. So this is the part where we put the equations. It's very similar to before, but the only difference is that it's a matrix and the equations are written in one variable, which is x1 and x2. Or I mean one matrix, 2 variables in one matrix. The initial values are going to be put the same way, -5 and -5. And now we can get it solved. And now it said the equation is solved, and the same message that we got before. We can also do the same thing that we did before of getting more than one input, one output. So I can ask it to get fx and the values, and we get c and d, the same thing. It's gonna show you everything. So it's solving and doing everything as we did before. But again, the only difference is how we put the inputs and the initial values. Sometimes it's not very easy or friendly, user friendly to do the write the equations like this. And think of it, if you have 5 or 6 equations and you're gonna put everything in one line, and in this case it's gonna be very, very, very difficult to troubleshoot any problem that you find. If there is an error, it will tell you that there is some error in this huge line. So it's going to be difficult to track the errors. To do this, it is sometimes easier to make an M file that contains all the equations that you want to solve. So the M file, it's going to be a user-defined function. First starts by function, and then what is the output? It's going to be f, and the input, or the file, I would call it to equations, and then the inputs that you have are only x. This is your input. And then you write the equations. The first, I'll take them from here, so I do not write them again from the beginning. So these are the two equations. It's again written in x1 and x2 the same way we did before. This is the first equation, and this is the second equation. But we need to differentiate between these two equations, so this has to be named as f1 and f2. And when we're done, we just type end. So we save this. It will save with the same name that I put. I have already one that has the same name, so I'll make it to equation. And it's showing an error here because the name here is different from the name of the file, so I'm gonna change it. And we will come here to the command window. I'll clear everything and get the last output or the last time we wrote everything. The only difference here is I'm gonna replace this part with the file name, so it's to equation, and that's it. It's gonna solve everything. It's the same output. Keep in mind that it is if you make it like 2 rows instead of 2 columns, the output will be 2 rows instead of 2 columns. So it's not a big deal. You can control the output as rows or columns depending on how you put the initial values. It doesn't matter the equations are written in rows or columns, but the initial values are the one that makes a difference. So we see here that you were able to solve the equations, and here if there is an error, it's gonna tell you that the error in the line number 3 or 4 or whatever the line number, so you can easily track the error, especially if you have a very big file. So this is all for today, and I'm gonna see you in the next video, inshallah. Goodbye.